to the Daily Bone Podcast. Today, we are discussing the Layer Zero airdrop going live as of, I believe, 30 minutes ago. It is just going live. They've got an innovative new 10%, a little bit of a donation going on as well, but it is pumping. It is going up, which is all that people care about. We're also going to talk about where in the cycle we are. If this is summer 2020, the playbook running back. We got some price predictions we're going to break down as well. And lastly, on the NFT side, we're talking about the CryptoPunks free fall and whether or not we may have seen the Pudgy Penguins bottom yesterday after a 30% clip on the price. Before we kick off the show, I want to give
That's a lot, Clemente.
No bueno at all. But before we kick things off, I want to give a quick shout out to the partner of today's show, Mystery Society. This is a blend of Clue, Web3, and the game Among Us. For any of you Zoomers listening that play that game, we're going to be doing a very fun event with them starting today. It's the Choose Rich event where they are partnering with Immutable to give away 10,000 of their IMAX tokens, which is almost 16K just over this 4-day event. It's super simple. It's free to play. You just log in, create an account, and you participate in this Among Us style game. We were playing it yesterday. We had a lot of fun with it. We'll be live streaming it tomorrow. The whole crew will be there. So you want to get in there. Make sure to follow them and check them out at themysterysociety.xyz. We're very excited to be partnering with them, and we're going to have some fun with them tomorrow. You're not going to want to miss it. Before we kick off the show, Apio, how you doing?
I'm doing fantastic, amigo. I was telling Easy before the show, I bought the mouth tape.
Oh, you did?
So this mouth was taped up overnight.
How'd you feel? How was it?
I mean, this is one of the simpler ones. It covers your mouth so you breathe out of your nose. It works. You breathe out of your nose, and you're supposed to do that. So I think it's pretty good.
Easy was
this is the weirdest phenomenon. I'm sorry, but when did this begin? I felt like I missed a show. I came back. Easy's breathing through his mouth, now not breathing through his mouth, wearing like a pajama suit. Pio's now doing it as well. When did you guys all start being mouth breathers and needed tape to fix the problem?
I've always been a mouth breather. So like the mouth tape is a game changer. When you breathe through your nose overnight, you get much better REM sleep. So mouth tape is just like a force of habit. It changes your biochemical makeup and forces the body to adjust. It's a game changer.
Breathing's the whole thing, Clemente. While we discuss this real quick, and we'll move on to crypto in a minute, but we're going to talk about breathing. Everybody breathes, so this is a relatable topic. I do not want a topic. I don't want to hear about it. If you're in the audience and you're like, I don't want to hear about breathing, Clemente, pull up Rickson Gracie, RICKSONGRACIE, breathing, and we'll get a little video of that. This is going to show you guys the layers of breathing. Signal. I think that a lot of us weren't trained on breathing as children, myself included, was not trained on breathing. So you can develop bad habits that stick with you because it's breathing. You're always breathing, right? And you want to always breathe out of your schnoz. I got a pretty good size one, so I think I can have some pretty good performance. But yeah, I just wanted to breathe through my nose. Oh, this is old Rickson Gracie breathing. Hold on. Give me him breathing on the beach. Type in Rickson breathing on the beach, and that should get you what you need.
I did not know this was a thing. Like, I thought it was normal to breathe through your nose, whether like you're running or sleeping. I thought breathing through your nose was normal. So like, I didn't realize you needed tape over your mouth to fix this, or that you needed to be taught how to breathe. I kind of thought the human body just does it normally. And the only time I've seen people breathe out of their mouth is normally when they're drunk or when they have a cold because their nose is blocked. So to know this is like a continuous thing, that there are like people who don't breathe through their nose on a continuous basis, this is new information to me. So it's just funny now that statistically 50% of the team, maybe more, are all mouth breathers. Clemente, help me here. Tell me you're a nose breather.
We know you're not a mouth breather, Sig. Everyone can tell you're much too sophisticated to be a mouth breather. But here, Clemente, real quick, just make this full screen and get to the part where he's breathing. And this is the right video. You got the right video. I know it's like long. Keep going, keep going, keep going. Almost there. Yep. Right. So go here. I bet you've never seen this before, ladies and gentlemen, unless you've literally watched this guy. Check out the breathing. Are you ready for it? Hold on. Oh, you got to go a little further, Clemente. A little bit further. Almost. Here we go. Here we go. Almost there. Ooh.
I think you know exactly how this video goes. It's the best.
This is from the documentary Choke, which is one of the best Brazilian jiu-jitsu documentaries ever. I mean, did you think this was possible? I bet you didn't. I bet you didn't. And ladies and gentlemen, if you're just watching, if you're listening and not watching, we have Hickson Gracie, of the Gracie family, as the first family of martial arts, right? This is some hardcore. This guy deserves a meme coin. This is some hardcore stuff. He's in probably some ice cold waters here in Japan or some shit training. Like this is no joke, Clemente. I don't know if you're ready for a lifestyle like this.
I certainly am not. I am a mouth breather, though, I will say. And that maybe
Another
is
one.
Yeah, I'm a mouth breather for sure. I wake up and my mouth is open. I'm like, oh, that's just a night of sleep just out the window. So I'm going to do it. My Whoop is very closely monitoring. Pio, that's the next purchase for you is a Whoop. I think you would enjoy the
I said
level.
the exact same thing right before the start of the show. I said it's time for you to get the Whoop.
Easy saying I got to wear a Whoop while I sleep, but if I'm sleeping in the nude, then all of a sudden I'm just rocking a Whoop overnight.
Dude, just trust me. Just
And a mouth tape.
Trust
You
me,
know what?
just
I
do
feel
it.
like I'm gonna the people who enter your bedroom is going to be something like mild form of welcome to my BDSM room. I'm wearing a Whoop, a mouth tape,
Just
and I'm
balls out,
naked, ready to go to bed. It's like, wow. Dating in 2024 is so different to 2023. It's like so different. Anyway, enough of the breathing. I think we can get into the crypto, but
Yeah, let's go.
Let's go, Clemente.
Signal,
Lead
take it
us.
away. Let's go. Let's hit this weather report. Figure out what's been going on in the last 24 hours.
yeah, this is a weather report for the nose breathers. Thursday, June 20th. Looking at the crypto roundup, you got the majors. They're up 1 to 2% on the day, with Bitcoin at around 66,000, Ethereum just under 3,600, and Solana at $138. Looking at the top alt and meme coins, the winner of the day is Fetch.ai's FET token that is up 24% to a 1.4 billion market cap. Over the past 24 hours, well, firstly, Layer Zero began their token claim this morning after a last-minute announcement of a proof of donation mechanic that's going to require you to donate 10 cents per token claimed. The Zero token is currently trading at $4.70 and an FDV of 4.7 billion. Definitely not close to zero. Secondly, next up, Certec, one of the largest crypto auditors, exploited Kraken for $3 million. This story as well. Certec claimed that this was a white hack despite moving the exploited assets via Tornado Cash and Change Now. Kraken actually claims that Certec attempted to extort them by holding the funds hostage until Kraken paid a bug bounty. And then lastly, this morning, 8 crypto punks were wrapped and then just thrown into bids for 21 ETH. These are now sub 70k USD sales mark as a local low in dollar terms for punks. We haven't seen this since last October when ETH was at $1,500. Current floor on punks is down to 24 ETH. Oh, could they be going to zero as well? That is all for the weather report. It's a short one, but it's back to you folks in the studio.
Fantastic weather report as usual. Signal, Clemente, are we? So I'm sorry, ladies and gentlemen, me and Clemente are working on improving, the structure of the show. But as a result, I'm a little bit out of place on where I pick up from here. Clemente,
What to watch for? Hit
what
the what
to
to watch for real quick.
What to watch for? Where are we at with that? Say, oh, there it is. Okay. What to watch for? We have 2 interesting mints to watch out for today. Lucid so Ordinals is still dropping NFTs. I love to see it. Lucid is a 6,000 supply Ordinals anime PFP collection minting today. It's minting for 0.00187 Bitcoin. When you start getting into like 3 decimal places, I feel like you might as well just start doing Satoshis, like just being like how many sats it is. We're getting towards that. So that'll be interesting. I mean, I have no idea how that's going to perform, but Clemente thought and Ray felt like it was worth servicing. Let's see how it performs. You never know. We've had some bangers in this section before. We all, the audience is like, thumbs down. Hey, look, that's a position to have, 100%. We also have Entangled by Bjorn Stahl. Great name. Great name. I love the font here. Let's go. Bjorn Stahl, an interactive generative art project minting via Dutch auction on a platform called FX Hash at 1 p.m. Eastern time. The collection size is 512, with half being minted on ETH and the other half on Tezos. Well, let's see how that whole approach goes.
Ray, our researcher, is next level, man. I don't know how he finds like where I haven't seen a single other person. So we'll see how this goes.
We'll
He
see.
finds these things that cook. Like he'll just be like, "Hey, dude, come check this out." Entangled by Bjorn Stahl. Like,
If it cooks, he's a hero, and if it doesn't cook, it was a huge scam. No, I'm just kidding. Anyway, the starting price is 0.08 ETH with a resting price of 0.065. Wow, what high stakes here. 0.015 of range there in that Dutch auction. Very high stakes. Anyway, we have a new section here. It says it's called Dope Shit We See. I like that title there. Dope Shit We See. DSWS. Time.fun is a new platform, it seems, that launched on Base 2 days ago. It's a platform that allows anyone to tokenize and sell, quote, their time. Well, gee, don't tell Franklin about this. Holy shit. Fans can buy and trade this time to later be redeemed for one-on-one meetings and DMs. Don't tell Gary V either. Does this mean that Ansem's already on the platform?
Oh yeah. So you can. This is interesting. Yeah, Pia, go ahead.
Is there a bat signal for this guy where it's like, yo, you can extract money from people on this new platform? And like, how is he on this within 48 hours? Who told him about this is what I want to know. Like, this is wild. And time is initially sold on a bonding curve. I would love to understand. I'd love a write-up of the very sophisticated conversations that people would be having with Ansem on this platform. That would be really something to see. But Clemente, you're going to add something?
No, it is interesting though, being able to, I mean, we're just moving down this like tokenization, like basically what can you speculate on? We had like fantasy top, you speculate on someone's Twitter. Now we're moving into speculating on what someone's time is worth, is basically what we're getting into. And Ansem is the most expensive at $167 per minute.
If you're paying that, you're crazy. Anyway, well, Clemente, I sent you and Ray that podcast. It was Pomp. He had someone from Van Eck on, and it just, the beginning, like the intro is basically the guy from Van Eck talking about how we are going to tokenize everything, which I agree with. And Larry Fink has been beating that drum since the beginning of 2024. As soon as the Bitcoin ETF came out, the next drum that he started to publicly, go off on was the tokenization of everything. And I think he's talking about doing it via Ethereum because that's the next ETF product that he's selling. But when you think about securities, they will be tokenized. It's just the next technological version of a security, just like how the iPhone is the next technological version of like the phone that your parents grew up with like the circular dial and everything. I mean, it sucks that I have to log on to like Schwab and buy a stock between 9:30 and 4 only Monday through Friday, and you have to go through like that interface when they should just be tokenized. And the point that the Van Eck person brought up, and this is actually a counterpoint to what a lot of people natively think, is that right now an equity is just that, right? It's equity in a company, and that's cool and everything. It's cool to be able to buy publicly traded equities, but the tokenization is going to actually allow you to do more with publicly traded companies. And, it's programmable. And I think a lot of people don't think about that in the context of legacy, like, the legacy stock market system and equities buying and selling. So I think it's juicy. I can't wait to see the way that it, kind of comes out. Clemente, over to you.
Awesome.
Or, I'm not hosting today, Clemente. It's on you, but
all right,
let's go.
All right, let's rip it. So we're gonna rip cover some of the news stories of the last 24 hours. Some were covered in the weather report, some were from our newsletter. But the first one that I want to quickly talk about is the Layer 0 airdrop going live as of this morning. Easy, I saw you tweeting about the proof of donation mechanic that makes you pay 10 cents per token claimed. A quick price update on this. This is now back down after getting up to about $5.50. The Layer 0 token is trading at $4.10, FDV of $4.1 billion. The last little bit that I'll add here in terms of information, they raised $120 million in April of last year at a $3 billion valuation. So the token is just trading above that, the company valuation. But Easy, what's the lowdown on the Layer 0 token? Why would someone want to buy this? And
I mean, it's a bridge. Like, that's the thing. It gives you an ecosystem bridge. It gives you access to move assets around from different blockchains. The thing is, I actually saw Spencer's take on this whole like 10-cent donation thing, and I think he's right. Like it basically eliminates Cybles, which are people who use multiple wallets and try to farm. Because now what you have to do is you have to get ETH onto Arbitrum on every single wallet just to claim this and pay the donation.
Is Sybil like SYBIL?
Yeah.
So Sybil.
Sybil. Sorry,
Yeah.
Sybil.
It's okay.
Yeah.
I was just like, dude,
So,
Sybil.
yeah.
I was like, is that PSYBULL? And also, is that a Pokemon character? Anyway, sorry. Go ahead.
Could be, yeah.
Psyduck.
Psyduck. There you go.
It's the Sybil. No, anyways. Easy. Go ahead.
Well, it just makes sense because now you have to pay 10 cents per token. So like I have 26 wallets I have to go and claim this on. So now I have to disperse cash or whatever it is to all of these wallets just to go claim this because of these stupid little pudgies that I moved to every chain that qualify. And I have to move the ETH to each one on Arbitrum just to go claim this token. Like when I thought that the work was done, now there's just more work. So, I mean, at $4 though, it's worth it. It's worth it to go do, but it's just going to take me like 2 hours.
$4 is a lot. I was looking through some of my wallets. I didn't check all of them, but like one of the little pudgy wallet. Hey, look, Easy. I actually got to give you credit on this. I think you were right.
I was bothering the hell out of you. I was like, dude, I know this sucks to do right now. Just trust me. Just do it. Send them to every chain. This is the one. I would not tell you to go take this tedious action if I didn't think it would be worth it. And this is the one time where I was like, this is beyond worth it. Just fucking do it.
I think one of the pudgy wallets that I checked was like almost 150. This is the little pudgy, just from moving it a bajillion times, was at like 150. So at $4, that's like $600 just on that one. Yeah. And the big pudgy got it. And I got like 9 different wallets. It's going to be a complete shit show disaster to go and dig them all out. It's going to suck to go
claim, but you're going to get about 10 grand. You know what I mean?
I don't know if I'll get 10 grand, but that'd be pretty sick. But I don't know.
I think you'll be close to it, to be honest. If you got 600 per at 9, you're looking at 540. Okay, so like 8. Sorry, because then the big.
If it's that much money, I'm going to literally fly to where you're at and give you a kiss. So we'll see. But anyway,
go ahead. All right, I think you're getting 8. I'm just saying that congrats on the used car. It was worth the effort.
You should have seen, for everyone that's listening, the day Pio had to do this, crypto admin, I think was Max Grumpy Pio. He was so pissed.
I was really upset.
Bullshit. Like I have to do this, but it paid off. I'm assuming you guys are selling all of these right away. Your airdrop.
I'm attacking the floor. Attacking with haste. Like you're gonna watch some violent sell pressure the second these in my wallet.
Got it. Okay. All right, Pio, you as well.
I think I have to because I can't be thinking about it. And if I do the admin and I don't lock in the gains from the admin, that's like a very high risk scenario for me, So I think I'll have to do it and I don't want to think about it. And I'll probably literally withdraw the money to my bank account because if I don't do that every once in a while, it's yeah, I don't know. That's probably how I'll approach this particular thing. It's how I approached the $2,000 airdrop from earlier this week for what was it? ZK Sync?
Yeah.
ZK Sync airdrop. I approached that the same way.
Got it. Okay. Well, there you have it.
Sorry, commenting. Wanted to add. So now we've had ZK Sync. Now we've had Layer 0. Easy. I wanted to ask, how do you think those two, do you think those two give sort of red or green flags as to how Blast will do next week?
Layer 0 green flag, ZK Sync red flag is how I look at it. Because ZK Sync was kind of disappointing. Layer 0's been really well received. Like you want kind of some like back and forth on pros and cons from people, I think, for when it comes to like what we're seeing with Layer 0. People saying it was good or bad is like actually not a bad thing. You want both sides of that. The thing is, if Layer 0 flopped, then I'd be like, oh, Blast is screwed. But because Layer 0 is sitting at over $4, it gives me a little bit of more confidence when it comes to Blast. Like, I actually saw Cyrus yesterday say, my brain's telling me 5 to 10 FTV, my heart's telling me 10 to 15 billion. So, like, that's I think he's spot on. I think we're going to open up right around that, like, 5 to 7 when you look at L2s for Blast. It's still tough to say, though, Like, we're really not sure. I think there's going to be more reasons and incentives, though, for Blast that should incentivize us to not sell. Personally, though, I want to take the wins and recognize some of that cash.
Yeah, and Blast is going to be, it's the L2 airdrop by Pac-Man happening next Wednesday. So we'll see how that one pans out. I believe this is the last of the kind of airdrop week that we're going to be seeing, or that we're seeing play out. The next news piece to quickly touch on is we saw CryptoPunk sell, I believe 5 of them sold for under 22 Ethereum. No, this
8
is
CryptoPunks. It was 8 CryptoPunks at 21.78.
Damn.
So it was a whale wallet, transfer them to a hot wallet, wrap them, and dump them into blur bids.
quick information on this. If you bought a CryptoPunk with your ETH on January 1st, 2024 in USD terms, keep in mind ETH has pumped. You'd be down 32%. If you just held ETH, you'd be up 35%. So certainly a nice. I saw Bob Laukas, however you pronounce his last name, basically saying that with 99% of NFTs, basically, you're not going to be able to outperform ETH over a longer time horizon. And we're seeing that with CryptoPunks right now. Easy. Any price prediction for where these bottom? You correctly called the 25 ETH kind of prediction, which when you said it back then, it certainly didn't seem as.
It was when Nick sold his.
Right.
And everyone was saying that was like a bad sale. And I was like, no, I think Nick actually sold this before there's going to be a much larger cascading event. I think 20 is honestly where I think these bottom out.
Do you think Pudgy Penguins will flip them?
Yes.
That's what I said.
Yeah, I think Penguins flip. I think Penguins flip punks.
I might make a video when it happens. Not because I might sell the Pudgy Penguin ahead of it, so I don't even have the thing, and no one can say I'm biased, but I just want to be petty to all the Twitter haters.
Well, the biggest mistake that happened was the fact that you saw Yuga Labs do something with punks. That in itself created this stain on punks that was so easily avoidable. And despite them retroactively pulling it back, once that action was taken, it now shows that nothing's off the table, in my opinion. So, like, that's where I look at it, and I'm like, now that they've done something with punks, in my opinion, Penguins are going to flip them.
And also, I mean, at the beginning of the year, my prediction for this year was there will be a collection out there that has a higher floor than punks. Now, when I said that, everyone was like, no, oh my God, punks is never going to happen. But when I said that, I thought it would be because perhaps an ordinals collection would surpass punks. Never in my head was I thinking it would be because the punks floor would collapse so hard that pretty much, a Pudgy Penguins with a catalyst event could overtake them. But I definitely agree with you, PO, that is going to happen. And to see this play out this year, I'm just trying to think well, who's going to be stepping in to buy these? Because the new kids, the new kids don't really seem to have a strong appetite to be buying these. And it seems like the old guard are dumping them. So at some point, these will be a buy in the same way that Easy said that he would step in to buy an ape at around 6 ETH. At some point, the old guard will come in and say, these are a buy at, I don't know what that number is, but I think it could be slightly below 20, to be honest.
20 is just a big mental number. So like for me, I'm like at 20, it doesn't feel bad. The concern is though that's still 65,000 United States dollars. Like that's a lot of money. You know what I mean? Like,
would you buy one at 20?
I'm contemplating it. I put the capital into a wallet. So like I'm debating
Wow,
it.
he's ready. He's got the capital in a wallet.
I'm like watching it pretty closely. I don't know if I want to swing just yet because then in the same breath, it's like, why would I not just buy 2 Pudgies for 16? You know, like that's the internal dilemma I'm having. Like I still have all these littles and yet I'm sitting here and I'm like, I kind of just want big exposure at this point because I've been a little whale for so long. And if I think the bigs are going to flip punks, then like, why would I not take that swing instead? That's kind of where my head's at. I like the idea a lot. I have some concerns, of course, with like just the way the market's kind of trading these. But the only we just saw Luca post an Uno reverse card with 3 more cards in his hand, signaling that like there's some stuff coming with Pudgies that we don't know of. So I'm like, that's really interesting. And it seems like they're ramping up this marketing plan. Like this is really interesting to me.
What's the green card mean? I've never played Uno.
So he got really?
I've literally never played Uno.
Okay. So it means like turning it back on you because his page got banned yesterday. So many people were like thinking that this is like just because you took us down, we're back type thing. It'll be interesting to see like what actually happens with it. But this was when I saw this, I was like, okay, there's a bigger marketing plan here. I don't know what it is, but they got something cooking and I'm very excited to see what it is. And it's going to be interesting, but I think Penguins flip punks. So yeah, like I said, the money's ready, but at the same time, why would I not just buy Penguins instead of punks if I'm sitting here saying that Penguins will flip punks?
Oh, my victory
You've never
lap.
played Uno?
I've never played Uno.
Have you ever played Scrabble?
Yeah, I like Scrabble a lot.
Monopoly?
We were a big Scrabble family because we're very brainy. My mom's like like a writer person, right? Monopoly, my mom never understood economics, so I don't think Monopoly was a big one for us. I played it before, but haven't played Uno. You guys probably haven't played Scopa. the Southern Italian card game that I was playing a lot growing up. Yeah, exactly.
No.
Yeah, there you go.
I don't even know what Scopa is.
Well, exactly. You're not, hanging out outside of a pool hall in Southern Italy, just drinking cappuccinos all day, which is what it seemed to me all the men were doing in Italy when I was growing up. I was like, what do these guys do? They just play cards all day? What are they doing? Clemente, go ahead.
Did the ancient Romans play Uno? Last thing before we move on, and by the way, in 15 minutes, we're going to be joined by Alex from DIMO Network to talk a little bit about what they're building on Polygon as part of our content partnership with Polygon. They got some really interesting stuff within how they're kind of connecting this tokenization of your car data, which is interesting. It's kind of Waze, but on the blockchain. So we're going to be talking to him in about 15 minutes about what they're doing over there. Very quickly, because I want to talk about some of this broader crypto aspect of what we've been seeing recently. Pudgy Penguins, easy. We saw these basically collapse after the underwater loans were cascading with blur bidders. People were pulling bids left and right. Liquidity went away. It was a kind of a nasty fall that we saw. But this is one of, I would say, actually the leading crypto brand in general. As far as
me crazy that loan liquidation is bullish.
Yes, I agree with you.
Bottom's in.
You saw, so these bottomed when they hit 70.
Yeah, because now there's no more downward sell pressure. The only major concern that you have to look for there is what's happening with what's it called? I'm gonna draw a blank. BendDAO. With BendDAO. So now that BendDAO's unwound, you're sitting here looking at it from a perspective of like, oh, this is actually a perfect situation, as crazy as it sounds, because there's no more downward price action. Like once that unwound situation plays out, you don't have to worry about anything. Like it's buy pressure only. When you look at an order book, sell pressure is gone because loans are underwater and now getting sold off. And if people come in, if you have buyers step in at that 80th price, they're not going to sell it at 10. They're
You're talking about Penguins right now?
Yeah, Penguins, because then their sell pressure would probably step in around like 12. Like they want a 50% gain minimum when you're putting up 80th collateral. Like that's some serious size. So like you just want the BendDAO liquidation event to happen, and then from there it's up only.
Yeah, so I also think we saw a little bit of a bottom there. I missed the bottom on little pudgies, but I think I'll grab maybe one or two, dare I say. So
oh boy, ladies and gentlemen.
Big Daddy's
I don't know.
in here. You know what
All
I'm
right.
saying?
You sure you want to do that, Clemente? You sure you want to get a little pudgy? Okay. All right. Well, we'll see.
Okay, so I do want to talk about where we are at in the cycle. I see a lot of people like kind of getting antsy, just in general, feeling antsy with the lack of price action. Pio's been calling it sideways summer. And I saw Elio Trades, who is a prominent YouTuber, talking about this is basically going to be summer 2020 played out all over again. It's inevitable. And he talked about how his best trading that he's done in his career came after DeFi summer. Just for context, and I want to throw over to you, Easy, because you were in the trenches, I believe, during DeFi summer, during that summer of 2020. So I want to get your take on what that was like. But we saw Bitcoin chop between, from a price action perspective, literally from 9 to 10.5K. Then after that summer, did a 6X in 6 months. Ethereum between $230 to $330, then did a 10X in that same time frame. Easy, what was a DeFi summer or just summer of 2020 like? Can you give very quick context for maybe people that weren't around during that time?
It was absurd, like the most absurd situation I've ever seen. Like you were just aping protocols that were not audited, hoping they didn't rug because the APYs were crazy, and like printing airdrops. So it's kind of similar to what we're seeing now on Solana.
Is this pancake swap era?
I wouldn't say fully pancake swap. Pancake swap was like a little before that, 16, 17. DeFi summer came in 2020. 16, 17 was pancake swap and pink sheets, which is like you would literally buy ICOs with not knowing who the team was. They would open up 5X, you dump it and pray something happened. But it was like, dude, that was the most fun I've probably had in crypto besides JPEGs, because JPEGs were hilarious. But like, dude, you'd sit in like a Discord or Telegram with you all be on BNB. Getting money to BNB as a US citizen is not fun. Like you're like PayPaling some person in hopes that they send you the money.
Crazy.
Like all of it was just the most absurd situation, and then aping it and then taking your, like, I'm talking, you would send a 90% of your portfolio clip into something, hoping for a 5X, and just continue it for as long as possible. It was the most degenerate gambling I've ever seen on chain. Pump Fun may have it beat, I will say, but it's pretty crazy. It was a wild time.
And so that was just because there was no bullish kind of price action. So the fact that everything was stable, it allowed kind of this. Well, it was basically people wanting to gamble and then not able to do it on the actual token. So they did it on things that were launching on Uniswap or whatever it was. Got it. Do you think we are going to see the same thing kind of play out on this price action perspective? Easy.
Kind of tough to say. I would like we are kind of seeing it right now with Pump.fun. Like that's probably the closest thing, dude. Is like we're talking about all this stuff, but like Pump.fun is literally just ICOs, and you're just aping an ICO in hopes that it does something. You know, like as crazy as it is, just praying the dev doesn't sell before it gets launched into an actual liquidity pool. It's like peak degeneracy over here. Watching some of these pump funds and like any narrative on the timeline runs, it's a different world right now, but it's eerily similar, I would say, to that 17 to 20 run.
Got it. And Pio, I know you don't talk too much about like Bitcoin price predictions or like where we're necessary. You're not trading your Bitcoin, right? You buy it and you're just never going to sell and it's going to go up is I think your stance. Obviously
I'm trading it. I trade it all the time. I trade it to people and they give me things and then I trade it back. I trade it all the time, Clemente.
Where do you think we are at in this cycle, Pio? Do you think we are going to see this blow off top after the summer? Do you feel like this cycle may end early, that prices may not be as suppressed post top because of institutional buying? What's your take on kind of where we're at right now and where we might see the next kind of leg up on Bitcoin?
I talked about it yesterday, so I'm going to keep it really, really quick. The last X number of halvings, at least 2, have been borderline identical, where nothing really happens for 100 days. If you look at 2020, right, the big run was actually in December. That got us to 30K, and then it ripped to 50K pretty quick after that. Then there was like a mid-cycle bear market of sorts, and then the all-time high at that time of 69K came later in the year, I want to say October, November of 2021. So that would put us at fall of 2025 as an expected all-time high based on the previous bull run. I'm not saying that it will be identical, and I think it would be not smart to say that it would be, but I just think people are really funny that they don't pay any attention to that or have an awareness of it, and I just think that the majority of people that are in quote crypto don't actually really know anything about Bitcoin, and Bitcoin's actually like the base layer and all that matters. Like if you don't understand Bitcoin, you're just blind in the space. And so I just focus on Bitcoin and sideways summer, baby. We're going sideways all summer. And yeah, I just buy as much Bitcoin as I can. Yeah.
Got it. And Signal, you call, I think it's the grapefruit. What's the eggplant?
Eggplant, Clemente. You're not planting grapes in June. Come on.
What anything to add here, Signal, on a grapefruit summer?
It's not grapefruit. You're not planting.
What are you talking about, Clemente?
Eggplant.
He doesn't know the difference between his fruits and his vegetables. That's it. No, I think
That's
what's interesting about this period is that, I mean, for this sideways moment, first of all, I think it's really interesting to basically grab the stuff you want before it pumps, because I still think this is a good time to accumulate on the tokens that you have conviction on. And just let it sit and do nothing, and just you don't have to keep putting money on the table. Like you don't have to buy for the sake of buying because you haven't bought in a week and the timeline is making you think that there are people making you money. I think a lot of people have this FOMO idea that everyone is making money around them just because they're not deploying capital. But I think this is a good time to just sit in your hands, buy what you have conviction in, and just let the cards fall as they may. But what I also really like about this time is because the market becomes so bored, this is when we have the most sort of like innovative, stupid things that come out that are a flash in a pan, and then they've disappeared by September. So this was when hamsters came out. I'm pretty sure hamster racing came out around this time last year. Pretty sure Friend Tech came out in the summer around this time. So I think look out for that trend. Like, because the market is bored, what will be some kind of crypto game that will come out that will take the attention, that everyone will think it's the next big thing, but is actually only going to be here for a flash in the pan, but you can potentially, deploy some capital into that. And it tends to be something new, something that we haven't seen, which comes out of boredom. Because that's just what human beings are like. When they're bored, that's when they're imagination and creation sort of like boils and comes to fever, and that's when you get the best ideas. And that's what I'm looking out for this summer. New stuff that we haven't seen will be a short flash in the pan.
Yeah, absolutely. And kind of a more broader kind of discussion when you look at Bitcoin versus Ethereum. P, I saw you highlighting this this tweet from our man Fred Krueger that's talking about with Ethereum, the biggest problem is trust. Do you trust that Ethereum will be able to compete against Solana, against Aptos, Sui, Arbitrum? You get the point, all these L1s and layer 2s in the next 20 years. He goes on to kind of talk about all these things where in Bitcoin, you don't have to think about that in general because it's a different type of thesis. Anything to add on this particular point made by Fred Krueger, PO, in the trust department with Ethereum?
Yeah, so I talked about this yesterday too, a little bit. So Fred is pointing out the difference between Bitcoin as the new version of literal gold and money and store of value, you know, like an asset for long-term store of value and saving, the type of asset that a pension fund or a sovereign fund would buy with the intention of holding for the next 100 years because they believe that's the best way to preserve their wealth, versus what's essentially like a startup of sorts comparatively. In other words, a revolutionary technology network like Ethereum that could potentially be disrupted by a competitor. Bitcoin's competitors are gold and silver, so it's pretty unlikely, in my opinion, that gold is going to suddenly revolution. Like, you know, are people really pushing gold forward and all of a sudden it's like, yeah, the new gold software is pretty nuts? No, obviously, I'm being facetious. Bitcoin is the new digital gold. We're good to go. That one's done. The battle's won. The knockout happened. It's Bitcoin, baby. But what if Solana disrupts Ethereum and is just, you know, way stronger than Ethereum from a price perspective? And price doesn't actually matter, but from a price perspective, you're seeing Ethereum lag, whereas Solana has done quite well. Obviously, it's been very volatile, but it's done quite well. Price doesn't matter. You know, at the end of the day, like, adoption is what matters. But yeah, I mean, look, he's just trying to basically point out the risks that are involved in any crypto asset that's not called Bitcoin, because they are competing with each other or they're competing with other crypto assets, whereas Bitcoin only competes with gold and silver.
Got it. Yeah. And with also on that note, Pio, I wanted to actually ask Easy. I was thinking a lot about my portfolio yesterday, and I realized I have a pretty fat bag of AVAX that I'm sitting on versus Solana. And I'm like, why would I not just convert that to Solana? And I was looking at that DeFi summer of 2020, AVAX did overperform or outperformed Solana. Is there a scenario where that actually happens? Like, what's the bull case where it outperforms where AVAX outperforms Solana in your eyes? Easy. You're muted.
I was double muted.
He's back.
Yeah, I was double muted on the mic. I didn't realize. My apologies. The thing with AVAX is it's a subnet. Like, people overlook these subnets, dude. Subnets are going to be massive. South Korea's infrastructure is built on an AVAX subnet called HK Planet. How many people don't even realize that? It's monumental. Like, that is one of the biggest things. MapleStory, arguably the biggest MMORPG on web, is going to an AVAX subnet. You look at things like what Kix is building with Tiltyard. You look at Shrapnel. Subnets are going to have their place and continue to gain traction. Off the Grid, which is already being claimed as one of the best Web3 games, which is already approved for PlayStation and Xbox, built on an AVAX subnet. So all of these major components, they just take time. Like, what I look at this is like boiling water. Like, right now it's still sitting there, hasn't reached boiling temperature yet, but it will, because everything is continuing to heat up. So, like, yeah, it may be underperforming right now because the narratives haven't gained momentum. But if you remember, Kix on Tuesday had said he thinks gaming is going to run from November to January. If you agree with that statement and that thesis and you're not in AVAX, you're about to leave so much money on the table. Like, a disgusting amount of money on the table, because their entire thesis is gaming. Dude, they had the biggest booth at GDC. You went down the escalator and immediately to your right was a massive overhead sign that said Web3 gaming sucks. And it was the AVAX booth with 15 gaming computers playing Web3 games. So that's what I look at here. It's continuing to trend down against Sol, yes. Sol's been the literal leader across all majors. Hands down the biggest leader from a percentage gain basis. So at some point that has to cool off and alts do have to start to rally. And I actually just saw Mando post, or it might have been OSF, that rates right now, lending and the short squeeze pressure right now. So like when you go long or short, you get a funding rate for going long or short, and funding rates are all-time low, which basically means all short sellers and long sellers are getting liquidated on both sides, which is exactly what happens in a choppy market before the next major move. So if we see a major move, that my belief is AVAX to 40, 45, which is almost a 2x from here. Do I think Sol 2x's from here? That's much more difficult. That's 280. So like when you start to look at theses like that, it would make total sense to see AVAX go to 40 before Sol goes to 220.
Got it. Well, thank you for talking me down, talking me off.
I think Greeny had a good call, Clemente, if you want to read that one out on the YouTube commentary.
So Greeny said to look at the AVAX versus Sol chart relative, and you kind of see this trend that's been down only, Solana kind of outpacing or outperforming AVAX, and that he expects a reversal at some point during the cycle. So
I think is reasonable. That's very reasonable.
100%. Before we have Alex from DIMO Network on. Easy. Before we wrap on that, when you say the usage and these subnets and kind of all of the building that we see on it, Shrapnel, for example, our partner is on AVAX. What does, I hate to be this, to bring this up or to kind of have this mindset, what does that do for the token? What's the bull case of like more usage? How does that mean AVAX price go up? Yeah.
You need to buy AVAX to swap the subnet.
That's it.
It's the most straightforward way. In order to get onto a subnet, you need to use AVAX. Like that's the thesis. And when you're spending gas on those chains, that's the burn mechanic. Right there, you're now seeing deflationary mechanics on the underlying token. Yes, it's less gas, but in order to get to subnets and buy tokens and ecosystems, you need AVAX.
Got it. Okay. Well, we'll see. Right now, AVAX is it hasn't been doing too much. It's at 27, 28. So price action wise, we'll see if this trend changes or if we see another sideways summer continued. But we're going to move on here. We have a fantastic guest joining us right now, the Alex from DIMO Network. He is the co-founder of DIMO. Alex, welcome to the show. I was looking at DIMO yesterday, and I was actually super interested in this. And by the way, for people that don't know, Alex and we work with the Polygon team to highlight people building in the Polygon ecosystem. And on that note, for people that are unfamiliar, I was looking at it yesterday and doing a little bit more research on what you guys have. It's very interesting, but I want to learn directly from you. And for people that might not be familiar, can you give people a rundown on what DIMO is, DIMO Mobile and the app, and kind of how it all works?
Yeah, thanks for having me on. This is going to be a good time. So DIMO, we're basically taking the principles and the ethos of crypto and decentralization and taking that to a totally new industry, which is the auto industry. So when you get under the hood and we actually like get into the auto industry, it actually looks very similar to what the financial industry has looked like. In the finance world, you've got all these banks and payment processors and stock exchanges and custodians. And, you know, almost 10 years ago, Ethereum comes along and says, hey, you can actually have all of this stuff settle on one layer. You can still preserve privacy, get the value of transparency, composability and modularity, and all these great benefits that have come out of, you know, building smart contract platforms. And we can make a much more efficient ecosystem that works better for people. And that's what we want to do in the auto space. In the auto space, you have automakers and insurance companies and maintenance companies and dealerships and all these kinds of companies that want access to vehicle data. And it's our belief that people should be in control of that data. You should not have to share it without your permission, like is happening. And you should get the maximum value from that data when you actually go to like use your car and you know, bring it to a dealership or need maintenance, or we can actually build all kinds of new applications on top of connected vehicles. So that's a quick overview. I can give even a deeper picture in a minute, but you know, we're all about bringing decentralization and open source composable principles to $1 trillion industry.
Yeah, so Alex, I'm a big Tesla guy, or at least I was. You know, investing in Tesla. Obviously, the stocks had its kind of volatility. Still, obviously, a great company. A big part of the Tesla stock pitch when it was going through its 6x was the data that they had because of their technology and how legacy automakers won't be able to catch up. And I think that that's totally, you know, fair. And I don't want to spend this whole time talking about how bad legacy auto, you know, organizations are. But when you step into a Tesla and you look at the user interface, you look at the fact that there's no buttons really. It's just an iPad. And then you get into like a BMW or something, and there's 20 buttons just on the steering wheel and another 100 buttons on the center console. You just kind of realize like this is not really the direction we're going. There's a lot of value in that data. And that data is going to revolutionize the insurance industry, another dinosaur industry. So you guys believe basically that the tokenization of that data, like the crypto technology, actually lends itself to improve it even further, which I could actually totally see.
So about 10 years ago, all the automakers started connecting their cars to the internet. It actually predated Tesla. GM had OnStar. They were like really the first connected car feature for drivers. And started, you know, just like press a button for help, like really, really simple. And the sad part is that, I mean, Tesla's obviously burst onto the scene and really pushed things forward, but like the average car hasn't gotten a lot more technologically complicated from a connected car and feature set perspective. So we think that the reason for that is pretty simple. It's because these connected car platforms are not open. Like imagine your iPhone you could only use the apps that Apple shipped it with. The whole magic of your phone, actually iPhone or Android, doesn't matter. Like the whole magic of the phone is that you have this app store and developers all over the world make hundreds of games and hundreds of utilities. And like you have the choice of this app store. Like the same applies to your car. And if anything, it's even more impactful because the car is loaded with more technology. It takes you places like physically in the real world. And so if you look out there, I mean, there's all kinds of applications people already use about their car. You can go find road tripping apps and performance applications. People go to, I mean, there's millions of people online on Reddit and Facebook groups talking about their cars. People make Instagram profiles for their cars. Like it's an incredibly social and community oriented thing. And none of that stuff is connected in a unified digital experience. There is no comparable like we have in Web3 where you can take your wallet and go trade NFTs, take your wallet, go play a game, take your wallet, go get a loan. Like that could actually apply into the car space as well, where you could take your single DIMO wallet, go connect with a car forum and a car club, go play a competition with your car or who visits all 50 state capitals, go, share your data with a maintenance company so that you have a better sense of what you need to do to keep your car healthy. Like all of these things can become interoperable, and we're building the first protocol to allow that to happen.
It's super cool. I mean, I like all of these different applications of crypto are very interesting. And I mean, you hear from someone like Larry Fink that's saying tokenize everything. Well, the software world is also going to adopt it. So love, hearing what you guys are focused on. Clemente, I'll go back to you. Sorry, I didn't mean to hijack this.
No, totally fine. Alex, so how does it work specifically? Like I'm trying to think, there's a lot of aspects of it, right? The one that I think of, for example, where it's clear that my data is just being hijacked is an example of like Waze, right? Or Google Maps, right? Where they take, in order for them to have a clear kind of thesis or a data point of like, hey, when there's going to be traffic, or hey, there's a cop car right there, whatever it is because they're collecting data from everyone using that app, right? So how does this app work in particular? And are you taking is Waze an example of an app that would be used or built on top of the network?
Waze could be an example of something built on the network. Yeah, I would actually argue that Waze is not the worst offender in this, because at least you're getting value back. Like I actually happened to be just the other day driving out, had a cop car alert coming up, and I slowed down a little bit. And it sure enough might have saved me from a ticket there. So Waze is actually, in my opinion, like it's kind of the right model. Like you're giving up your data, but you're getting value back. Like I doubt there's many people that would say, that's not good for me. I only want to take. The model that's really bad is, this happened in the news about a month ago. GM was sued for sharing data with insurance companies without user permission, without user knowledge. And all of a sudden these users were having their rates jacked up, and they would say, how is that happening? What's going on? And it was like, oh, well, GM shared your driving data with the insurance company. Like that's not good. No transparency, nothing. How can we build a better system? How can we build more towards that Waze model where there actually is like user benefit coming into it? So first, you can connect your car to DIMO. And today there's one way to do that. That's through the DIMO mobile app. You can think of it as like the first app, the first wallet built on DIMO. There will be others soon. So we're working with a number of developers that will build their own connection-based applications. So DIMO Mobile is going to take into account what kind of car you have. If you have a Tesla, you can download the app and connect your car in just a few minutes. No hardware required. You use your Tesla credentials. There's a number of apps. We're in the Tesla developer program. Like, we're sanctioned, you can just download and get connected in a few minutes. If you have, and by the way, that also works for a few other kinds of modern cars. Every Tesla works. Most other car makers, it's a little bit more iffy. If you have an older car or you don't have a subscription to your car's app, we have a couple hardware devices. We're following the Helium model. We don't make the hardware ourselves. We work with outside companies that help us build this hardware. And so this is one of them. It's $100. You can buy it on our shop, connect your car. Our shop is drivedimo.com. Get your car connected. And then let's say you have an older car, you have no app for your car, nothing. Now you have an app for your car and you can see some basic stats, start accessing our marketplace, check out maintenance, buy insurance, and see all the other cool apps that are coming.
Got it. And so within this, basically this app, so you guys initially just built the network, right? And now on top of, you're building these apps where, like, now, for example, I can go connect to my car and I'm getting these analytics or a bunch of various things. I'm just connected to my car in a different way. But what you're doing, that's already existed for a Tesla, for example, right? Tesla has an app. You're basically building this, but you're actually owning this data that you can do for it. Within the monetization of this data, how does that work? Like, if I drive, let's say I'm an Uber driver, right? And I drive 200 miles a day and I'm probably providing a good amount of data. How can I monetize that?
No one's providing more data than those guys, I'd imagine. And this is the big question. So I'm excited to hear this one from Alex.
Yeah. So a couple of points on that. So Tesla's really interesting because they actually have realized that, like, they built an app. And if you talk to anyone with a connected car, Tesla has the most popular, like, their app is obviously the best car app. But even with that, they've been the leader in opening up their APIs to say, look, people have different habits. Again, it's the Apple iPhone analogy. Like, Apple isn't like, well, we are going to be the only notepad for people. So, like, we don't need any developers to build notepad apps. So there's a million notepad apps, depending on how you like to take notes. And Tesla has done that. It said, here's our APIs. And there's like 6-10 companies somewhere in there. We're one of them that have built alternative apps to the Tesla app. It's like, well, depending on what you like, there's these apps that are like really, really data heavy. If you're a data nerd and you want to look at, like, plot your charts and, like, do all this cool stuff, there's Tesla apps for that. If you're like, hey, I've got a family and I want to do, like, family protection and see how my kids are traveling, there's apps for that. So Tesla's realized that we can make a great app, but the secret to actually making the car even better is giving people choice. So that's number one. And we think the rest of the auto industry has to follow. And then you're at the question of interoperability. How do you have a Toyota and a BMW in the same app? You need a protocol for that. Then there's the question about data and where does the data have value? So we are selling, like, when users come in, they sign up, they can choose to opt in to make their data available and say, hey, look, put my data in the big pool and try and sell it, get me some extra, DIMO tokens. You can also say, no, I'm not interested in that. I'd rather just use the app features and track my car for myself. Totally cool. And we want people to have both options. We started DIMO. We thought that, like, this whole big data play would be the biggest side of it. Like, hey, we're going to get a big pool of data, millions of drivers. It's going to be great. That's what we'll sell. And we started to talk to all these companies in the auto space. And basically, they said, yeah, that data is nice. And, like, maybe we would buy some of it. But what we really want is when a user comes to interact with us, for us to be able to purchase the data from the user one-on-one. So, like, when you go to, and I'll give you the classic example, we've spoken to a lot of used car marketplaces, think like Vroom, Carvana, the others. When you say, hey, we have 1 million cars worth of data, they say, okay, like, kind of cool. We have some models. Maybe it'll help us plug that in. Maybe we'll buy that data from you. But when you go to them as a driver and you're like, hey, I have the data on my car, what kind of price will you give me? They say, that is really valuable. We will pay you for that data right there, because that's an actual real pricing decision that they can make right then and there on that car. And the same applies for insurance, for maintenance, for all these other types of applications in the auto space. What they really want is to be able to pay for the individualized data. And that's where the user permissions come into play, and giving the users control over their data is most important. I get the
real
question all
quick.
the time of like, oh, sorry, go ahead.
Well, I didn't mean to interrupt. I just found that fascinating. I wanted to dig into that.
Yeah.
So essentially, if you go and you say, I have all the traditional way to have data, like big data, for example, is not individualized as you can imagine, because it would be incredibly difficult to get that individualized data. So if you go to Carvana, they're just kind of like, like we're probably getting something like that. I mean, I'm sure that Carvana is a data-driven organization. It's a very modern company. They literally sell cars out of vending machines, right? So they're a very modern company. They're like, more techie vibes. But so if you go to them though, and you basically say, I have the tokenized data pertaining to my individual car, they would want that if you're saying that you're going to sell them your car, because then the level of intricacy that they can apply to the pricing will allow them to have a more significant spread, because they know exactly what the story is of the car. Is that right?
Right. So one of my co-founders at Vroom, they underpay for most cars because they're buying cars sight unseen. That's the way they hedge risk. And so a lot of people say, well, look, I'm probably going to get the short end of the stick here. If they see my car, they're going to see it's unhealthy. It's like, no. Like they're trying to account for the 1 in 10, 1 in 20 lemons that they buy, like totally shit cars that slip through the cracks because they're buying cars with no data sight unseen. Like that is what brings down the price for everyone else in the pool. And so if you can show up and say, look, I've kept my car in average health, like I didn't do anything special, but like I didn't like run it into the ground, I didn't let it fall apart, like you are going to get a better price. And sure, like if you're the 1 in 10, 1 in 20 whose car is falling apart and you didn't take care of your car and you really beat it up crappily, like now you can't pull the wool over a buyer. Like it becomes a little bit more transparent, and like you'll have to like, I don't particularly feel bad, I guess, in those instances, but like generally speaking, all that risk is being pushed down to everyone else in the system. And if you can de-risk your specific purchase, let's say in that example, you can make out much better. And we've seen that, like we're still in the early phases of talking about integrations with some of these marketplaces. But we've at least done some of those tests and like are doing that in a very manual way through buying and selling cars. Like we've been able to show, like, if you have this record, if you have this condition report, which is a very established concept in the industry. Yeah, exactly. Show me the Carfax. So interesting point on Carfax. They see the average car 7 times. So they get 7 service receipts on the car throughout its life cycle. And, we're plugged into the car, accumulating its data, like, gigabytes of data every hour. So like, there's a huge discrepancy in the amount of data you can get when you plug into the car versus when you're just like trying to aggregate receipts from repair shops.
Incredible detail. I have one more question, Clemente. So a lot of our listeners are probably familiar with Step-in, which was you're walking around, right? What's the difference here between in a individual user's experience? I'm someone that's used Step-in, so I'm familiar with Step-in.
Cool.
What's the difference between Step-in and DIMO?
Yeah. So, and you touched on this earlier with the ride-hailing app drivers. So one interesting thing we decided in setting up the tokenomics early on was not to incentivize miles driven, because we thought, okay, we have all these people driving around, all like we're not like people are like, well, if I drive more, I should like, no, the point of the data is to describe what's happening in the real world. Yeah. Not to incentivize some other weird behavior.
Farming.
Like, nobody does better.
Mile farming, right? Like literally farming miles.
Nobody does better. Like it doesn't help you as a driver if you're driving around extra to collect tokens. It doesn't help Carvana. It doesn't help the next person who's going to own your car. Like nobody does better if you're just like paid for doing miles. And so what we did is we wanted to say like, oh, the real incentive here is to build up a great picture over the life cycle of a car. Cars are on the road for 15 to 20 years. Typically they change hands 5 to 7 times on average. Like the thing that we really want to incentivize is a long-term connection to the car. So drivers that connect to DIMO are rewarded every week that their car stays connected. They build up a streak and the streak can become extended. So basically the longer you're connected, the larger share of the reward pool that you're eligible for. So for us, in terms of trying to incentivize the right behavior in the tokenomics, it was all about how do we have people stay connected for a long period of time and collect data that accurately describe what's happening on the world without incentivizing extra behavior. Now, I'll point out, we have a lot of companies that come to us really interested in incentivizing particular things. So we're talking to some folks that say, hey, we want to incentivize safe driving. Great. How can we do that? We want to incentivize green driving. Great. How can we incentivize people who charge their EVs at a certain time or switch from ICE to EV? Like, there are ways to apply incentives, but like just doing more miles, the one thing we can all probably agree on is like just having more cars on the road all the time, like doesn't help anything. It's really about like, what are the more kind of like nuanced behaviors that you want to incentivize?
I love it. So to break it down simply, incentivizing duration of time of data collection. In other words, just having your car connected every week so that you can get a real picture of the life of this vehicle. And then in a very important way, not incentivizing mile farming. In other words, not making somebody feel like they're accomplishing something by going for a 3-hour drive for literally no reason.
Right. Think about if your Carvana, like you want to know this car actually sat around most of the time. Like it's probably in better shape than the car that was on the road for, you know, hundreds of thousands of miles. Somebody's doing 90 so they can get their miles up. Like that data is valuable. Like the absence of data is a data point. Like it was parked. It was at the same place for the same amount of time.
Yeah. Clemente?
And Alex, myself, and I think a lot of the audience is actually super interested in getting involved. So how can people get started? Obviously, they can go to drivedimo.com. There is, I go here and there's kind of 3 different things I'm looking at. One of them is connecting the car app. And then there's these 2 other products. Can you just quickly run through what these look like, what these are, and how people can get started?
Definitely. If you have an app with your car, Tesla app, Toyota app, Ford Pass, like if you already have an app for your car, you can more than likely download the DIMO mobile app. You'd hit that use your car apps button, download the DIMO mobile app, and go through the connection flow in the app and get started. There can be some of these OEMs are really, as we were talking about, they're behind on technology. They make it confusing. What subscription do you have and not have and stuff like that. But more than likely, give it a shot. If you know you don't have an app for your car or you haven't used it and you don't know anything about that, you got to choose between one of the 2 hardware devices, and we have more coming online. The DIMO Macron's obviously the lower price point one, $100. It uses the Helium IoT network. So if you live in a major metro area, you're probably going to have pretty good coverage and get data on your car via that. And if you do a lot of driving, typically we see this on fleets and people who want to collect even more data or are doing a lot of road tripping, you would probably want to upgrade to the DIMO AutoPi, which is a 4G connection. It earns you more rewards as well, which is of course something that people care about quite a bit. But you know, this is just going to be an even richer data collection device. And I'll say on the last piece, a couple other ways to get involved. We're always interested in developers. We just launched our developer platform too. So you know, we want people to start building on DIMO, and Token is trading on Coinbase, and we've got some interesting governance proposals around tokenomics coming up. So that's always a way to get involved as well.
Absolutely. And we like to ask all the partners that we work with or the people come on the show, specifically for our partners over at Polygon, why Polygon? There's obviously, as we were talking about on the show, there's so many options. Why did you guys decide to work with or build on top of Polygon?
So it's almost 3 years since we started working on our smart contracts. So we've been at this for quite a while, and you know, most of them are deployed right now. You know, the world was a different place 3 years ago than it is today. And we've always been a little bit more EVM aligned just as a team, not maxis by any stretch of the imagination, but like kind of cut our teeth in the EVM world. And, you know, at the time we started building, Polygon was, you know, top of the board in terms of L2s where you could get low fees, great wallet share, you know, all of these things that were great governance tools already in place, like mission aligned with what we're doing, bringing Web 2 people into Web 3. There were all these great reasons to launch on Polygon, and there still are, and we get a lot of support from Sandeep and from a bunch of other Polygon folks. We're really close with that team. And, you know, the world is evolving fast. Like Polygon, their own products are changing. They're building their CDK and their ZK products. And, you know, we're keeping an open mind in terms of like, where does the long-term future of DIMO live? Yeah, Polygon's been a great home for us for the last couple of years.
Awesome. Well, good to know. I appreciate you sharing that. Well, Alex, that's our time. Thanks so much for coming on and sharing all of this. For people that want to get involved, go to drivedimo.com. You can also follow them on X at DIMO_network, or follow Alex at Alex Rawitz, Rawitz. Alex, thanks so much for coming on, man. Really appreciate it.
Thank you. Have a great rest of your day.
You as well. That's our show, everyone. Thank you all for tuning in. We will be back tomorrow, same time, 9 a.m. Eastern. We're on YouTube. Go subscribe to us at The Daily Bone or follow us on Twitter at Bodagos ENT.